And now, Mr. Willy's Pod of Mayhem on the Breaking Fate Radio Network.
Estamos están bien. For you, in fact, coming up next up. Come on.
Hello and welcome to the Pod of Mayhem. I am Willy Atkins. Thank you for listening to episode 8, featuring radio personality, promoter, and actor Evan J. Thomas. Before we get started, I want to make sure that everyone knows that this will be the last episode of the Pod of Mayhem Season 1. It's been absolutely great doing this for you, and I look forward to bringing it back very, very soon for Season 2. When I relaunch with Season 2, it will be under a brand new format, so stay tuned for some fun updates. But don't fear, during the Pod of Mayhem downtime, I'm launching a new show called Creative Backstory. It's basically the same format and content you've come to expect from the Pod of Mayhem, but a much more fitting brand name. For now, if you could just like the new Facebook page, facebook.com/Creative Backstory, that would absolutely rock. In addition to Creative Backstory, Breaking Fate Radio is also working on a number of other podcasts, including Pro Wrestling Elixir, which is a show dedicated to pro wrestling news and reviews. Also a show for adults called The Fetish Pod that will feature erotic stories. And also, The Return of the Wolf's Den, a show featuring independent metal music and mayhem as hosted by Wolf McKinney. That one will be a live broadcasted show that'll double as a podcast. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It used to be amazing days with Wolf McKinney back in the day. And I will be right back with my special guest, Evan J. Thomas, in just a moment. Are you enjoying the Pod of Mayhem and you want to start a podcast yourself? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First and foremost, it's free. I mean, you can't be free, right? In addition to that, there's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. So, if you'd like to check it out, download the free Anchor app, or go to anchor.fm to get started.
This is paranormal historian and author Ursula Bielski, and if you love ghosts and hauntings as much as I do, then you should join me and several other knowledgeable guests at the 2020 Afterlife Paranormal Conference on Sunday, October 4th at the Red Roof Inn Convention Center in DeKalb, Illinois. This is going to be a wonderful event featuring presentations about haunted history and evidence of the paranormal. If you have a ghost hunting team or even artwork that fits the theme, the conference also has vendor space available. Be sure to check out www.afterlifeparanormal.com for tickets and details. I look forward to seeing you there. Unless you're scared.
My good friend, Evan J. Thomas, in studio. Hello, my friend.
What's going on, Willie?
So, Evan, tell us where you're from and exactly what it is you do.
You mean where I'm from, like where I live now, or where I grew
Where you're
up?
originally from.
All right, because I've lived everywhere in the past, couple years.
Yeah, excellent. This will fill the whole podcast.
I grew up in Glen Ellen, Illinois, so born and raised Chicago area. Glenbard West, graduate, 1993. Holy shit, I'm old. Then divorced now. I have a 15-year-old son. Started off as a photographer doing music and sports photography. Got into doing video work. Started doing radio work. Started running my own production company. And graduated from Illinois Media School last year, 2019. And now I work for 670 The Score down in Chicago.
Wow, we have absolutely nothing in common.
Nothing at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured this whole podcast would be full of us riffing off of the business and battles and successes. But what originally got you started in photography then? Because I started that very same way. It was always photography when I was 16 years old, I believe.
And it's always going to be photography. Photography and imagery is my main love.
Yeah.
My dad's a photographer, so kind of basically growing up watching him, he did a lot of NASCAR work. So he was out and about doing that. I didn't care anything about NASCAR, so I went the opposite direction. I liked music and baseball and football, and that's kind of what I got into. Basically, when I was a kid, walking around with my little stupid camera, taking pictures of the dog or people in the pool, just dumb shit. So you have just it's not even content. I go back and look at it now. I'm like, man, what was I thinking? But then you grow over time and you start going to like little baseball games or sitting in the stadium at the Cubs game, just photographing from the stands. And then I asked somebody one time, hey, can I get up there and shoot? Sure, do it. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And that's kind of how it just...
I don't know if they let you do that so easily now.
They won't do it anymore. There's no chance. So, yeah, it was fun.
Not even on the south side. That's where we're going to differ here, right?
I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, but I favor the Cubs.
I see.
So, Sox fan is all good.
So you've been all over, you said?
All over. I've lived in 7 places in the past 5 years.
Now we're talking all within Chicago area?
Oh, yeah.
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 I mean, I've been all over, but I've been like all over,
You're
over.
like Tennessee
beyond, yeah, exactly. Back and
Illinois.
forth repeatedly. So what are you working on currently then?
Currently, have the Badass Productions music stuff that I do. That's my company that I started about 5 years ago, and it started through doing my art show, the Badass Art Music Show.
Right.
That's how I first got into actually like booking shows and doing stuff like that.
Now that was before the actual production company, right? You just started the events and then kind of made a parent for it.
Exactly. So the way that happened was I went to an art show in Chicago. It was a pretty big name art show. I'm not going to name it so I don't,
sure,
ruin anybody. But to me, it was one of those art shows where they just packed you in and they didn't care who you were. They just wanted the money to walk through the door, and that's what they did. So I was there. I promoted the heck out of it. Walked in, and it was elbow to elbow for like 6 hours, and it was DJ music, and I'm like, this is annoying. I didn't want to be here. I wasn't selling anything. There was people knocking shit off the walls and like ruining other artists' stuff, and I'm like, this sucks. So basically the next day when I got done with it, I'm like, I need to do something and start my own, which I know I could do better.
Yeah.
And that's where it whole kind of just broadened from there.
And what year was this that you started?
2015 is when I started.
Yeah, it's pretty hot times back then, too. I know we were just talking briefly off air before we got on here about how we've seen, constant declines in people trying to get out for these events.
There's so many of them now. That's the problem. There's so many of these art shows. Not just art shows, but little gimmick shows that pop up.
Yeah.
And just trying to vie for people's dollar to walk through the door is one of the hardest things in this era, this time. It's horrible.
Yeah, I think it's beyond money. I mean, I think that in a world of conveniences that we have now and technology, it's hard to get somebody off the beanbag chair and they can sit there and watch Netflix all day at home or experience everything through a digital window. Mm-hmm. It's frustrating stuff.
So how do we do that? How do we do a virtual art show?
Well,
can we?
I guess there's art exhibits digitally on the web.
Just
really,
take pictures and put them up. Guess that's it.
They're looking at our reel. They're not framing much stuff anymore. They're looking at it through a phone.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's heartbreaking to me to see all that. And part of the reason I do this podcast is not just promotion or promoting the people involved. It's just to be able to have a sit-down conversation with people when it's so hard to get them out unless they're physically involved in working on something, Yeah,
that's why when you invited me out, I'm like, really? You're not doing a phoner? I didn't say that to you, but I'm like, why am I driving out there? Oh, wait. Yeah, well, now I see why I'm driving out of here. You got the studio and everything.
Yeah, nice studio setup.
It's beautiful in here.
I have the ability to do over the phone stuff, but
killer artwork all over the place. Yeah. Good, man.
When I look behind you, that thing's gonna probably jump up and bite you at any minute.
See, that's my type of artwork, so it's all good.
That is Gerald. That was given to me by my best friend. Her name is Rose, and That is supposed to be our love child, Gerald. However, she is the father, I guess, and I don't know how this worked, but
So you're the mother,
apparently.
or you're both the father.
It looks like something I'd give birth to. It's pretty freaking scary.
Its head looks like a combo between yours and mine.
And Gacy's, right?
Well, the face looks like Gacy.
It does look a lot like Gacy. When did you decide you were going to move on from just photography alone and start branching into other things, events and such?
That's a great question. It just kind of happened. There was no thought process in me booking any shows. I mean, so I did the first art show, which is called the Badass Art Music Show, in May of 2015, and I figured it was going to be a one-off thing. I never expected anything past that.
Yeah.
And I had 20-some artists at this small little dive bar, and then I had 100 and some people show up. And people are like, when's your next one? I'm like, what do you mean next one? I'm like, I didn't even know there was going to be 7 people show up here, and there's over 100, and it was like amazing. And so then I started figuring out, oh shit, maybe it might turn into something. So we did one in like July or June, and then that year we also did one in December. We did like a holiday show.
Okay.
And all 3 of them are at the same venue in Rolling Meadows, the same little place. And then from there, we almost outgrew it in a year, in like 3 shows. So then I started trying to find other venues to kind of hold it at, because I didn't want to get it complacent at the same place. Because once you do the same show at the same place all the time, people are like, well, I've already been there. I've already seen it.
Or if you do it multiple times a year, like, oh, I'll miss this one. There'll be another one in a few months anyway.
Yeah. And like I told you, I mean, beforehand in 2018, I did 6 shows. To me, way too many, but we did it. 6 shows, and that's just art shows. That didn't include the music stuff that we did too. And then 2019, I only did 1. This year, I don't even have anything booked yet, but I'm going to have one later this year, possibly a second.
So tell me what kind of art you see at these type of shows.
Oh, it's all over the board. I mean, you got photographers like me, you have painters, you have people who do metal work, you have tattoo artists that have been there, you have, there's any type of medium, basically sculptures, metal work. I mean, I've had people all over the board.
That's cool.
Like actual makeup artists come in and doing makeup on people. It's a lot of fun. I like to have it eclectic.
Yeah, I always love mixed media type events like that. The film festivals I have done whenever I've had major, vendor space have been like that in the past. Might be a theme. Chicago Horror Film Festival is one of the big ones, and at the Portage Theater we had room for about 40 vendors or so, and it was just cool to see all these different types of horror art in one spot. It's far beyond just a film festival. It was definitely a big horror art show.
Yeah, it was an event.
Badass Productions. It's badassproductions1.com for those who want to see it online. I assume somebody else stole that name from you.
No, they didn't steal it. I kind of did some research on it, and there's another company in the Chicagoland area, but a different, not Productions, but it's something else. I'm not going to say their name because I'm not giving them any credit whatsoever at all. But I ended up using Productions because we are a production company. We don't just entertain people. Right. So we do more. We have TV shows and podcasts and radio shows and, little segments here and there on different radio shows. So, and plus I also have a little bit of a small network of podcasters as well that I promote their work as well. So. And
a lot of music events I see is a big part of what you're doing, right?
Correct.
And
yeah, we try
PR.
to do. We just started doing PR October. So I've been working with a few different bands here and there because I've worked with another PR company out of Iowa, Tag Publicity, who does music PR. Obviously, what I do is a lot smaller than what they do because it's right now a one-man operation, which basically everything is except my business partner, Dominic Boss. He's the guy who does the promotions part where he basically books the shows. So that's he does the booking, he does the connections between the venues on booking stuff. I do everything else.
Which is still a hell of a lot.
It's a lot. He does a lot, too, because it's unreal. He works with the band we work with, Bullet to the Heart. He's a manager with them, so he's booking them all the time. I mean, we had a few other bands that were with us that we have let go since.
I was going to say, what's that been like? I know now. I know damn well I started doing music production a long time ago. Whenever I first started doing stuff at all, my my events were usually mixed media and always involved live music. And I know there's a lot of challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to share with us what some of those battles you've seen have been and what it's actually like to work with the independent
man, I
musicians?
could go off so badly right now, but I'm going to, I still want to be in this business, so I'm not going to.
Well, you don't need to name names.
Oh,
but
I definitely won't be naming names.
If people hear what the bullshit is like and what you have to go through, it might be better for them to hear that. So they'll be more professional on the outside of it,
Yeah, and you and I were talking about this before we came online here on recording, but the business now it seems like it's all social media based. If you remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you had bands outside of venues handing out flyers, handing out CDs, handing out stuff to bring them to shows. So you go to the venues where you're going to be playing at other shows and you promote rather than just put up a post and be like, oh yeah, I'll have 15 people show up. No, you won't. And you know why that is because your social media posts get lost in the mess that is social media.
Yeah.
So you still have to actually put it out there, message people directly, which is how I always do it and how I try to tell people to do it, but then they can't even follow easy, stupid little directions like that. But then a lot of the bands, too, they overshoot themselves on how much they can draw. And that's what's killed me in the past on the art show is there would be bands that would say, I could bring in 50 people. Well, there was one show, they brought in one person that paid. And I had a guaranteed amount that I was going to pay them because they told me they were going to bring in a certain amount. And I still paid them because that's man of my word. I don't back off on that. But then looking at them, I'm like, well, you're never going to be booked again because you only drew one person when you said you'd bring 50. How is that such a mess? I don't get it.
So much of that can be just being honest,
Yeah, well, that's exactly
I'm a new group and, we don't have this huge following yet, but pretty damn good. Give us a stage and let us.
No, I will actually give a chance to somebody who gives me that comment right there than somebody now who will say they'll bring 50 people. I'm like, cool, you bring 50 people, I'll give you this many per head. If you do it, I'll give you that money. Otherwise,
I know exactly.
Not happening anymore.
And then there's always that other thing where there's obviously a lot of egos involved.
Oh, a lot.
When it comes to musicians, it's a lot like working with wrestlers. There's a lot of ego. A lot. And not all the time. I got to say, there's a lot of bands and individual musicians I've worked with that are really, they just know where they're at, as opposed to inflated egos. But they come with that complaint about it's the promoter's job to promote.
Correct.
But it's everybody's job to
everybody.
promote.
Johnny the drummer needs to promote too, not just promote it on your regular social media, but on your actual band page.
Yeah.
Like I said, get out there, make flyers. I mean, it's $10. You can get them done over at anywhere now, and just hand them out to people. Go to shows. Just go somewhere where people are going to be that might know your music. I mean, go to a music shop, put it up. I mean, do people even go to music shops anymore? I don't even know. I mean, I guess they do. Who knows?
I don't know if they really do anymore or not. It's something I remember from the 90s and 80s very well, and I really miss.
No, but I mean like a Guitar Center or something like that. I mean, you're going to have people out there already with music.
Yeah.
Put flyers up. Go to a show. Go stand outside. I know it sucks to get, like you said, to get off your couch.
Right.
But do it because you want people to show up. Schmooze a little bit. Show that you have a personality. Because if you're going to not have a personality at all, and then you go up on stage and you stand there like a dead fish, nobody's going to want to come out to any future shows.
That's true. That's the other thing. When they get on that stage,
huge.
You got to relate to that audience somehow and capture their attention to bring them back the next time.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of entertainment value to be able to bring people out on a consistent basis.
All right. I want 5 bits of advice that every band should always take into consideration.
5 bits of advice. Well, you said one of them, and I'm going to repeat that, and that is basically... Oh, shit, what was it?
Everybody's part promoting.
Everybody needs to promote the shows, not just the lead singer, not just, guitar player. Slash doesn't just promote his own stuff. Everybody does. Well, bad example. Bad example. He probably doesn't do shit because he's Slash. But yes, promote your own own shows on your own social media, and don't just put up a post saying my band is playing here Thursday night. Message people who have been out to shows or that you know are in the music industry or that like music and might be able to come out. You know what? If somebody says no, hey, at least you know they're not going to come. At least they know they saw your comment. You know? It's one of those situations where it's like you won't know if they don't say anything. But then you get a lot of those people, too, that they say, yeah, I'm going to show up, and then they don't. But you know what? That happens. They get ghosted. It happens.
Yeah, that shit sucks, I'll tell you.
Second one is going to be being honest about your actual draw. You know, don't lie to me and tell me you could bring in 25 people when you can bring in one. You know, if you could bring in 25 people, do it. You know, be honest, and that's a good thing with one of the bands I work with is they're straight up honest with all the places that they bring a consistent draw every time.
Yeah.
Show personality on stage, out and about. I mean, have a personality for yourself, whether it's little kind of persona that you created or if it's just you enhanced a little bit. Because me here is a little bit different from me at home. I'm like more chill and relaxed, and I hate people. I love people, but I hate them. but you have to deal with them on a consistent basis.
And you, as a producer, aren't supposed to be the personality of the event. That's what you see on the stage.
But I am, because I'm the host of the art show. I do my own radio show, so I kind of have to have that outgoing personality. And the funny thing was, growing up, I did not have this until about 5, 6, 7 years ago when I started doing acting.
Force yourself into the light.
I kind of forced myself into opening up and being not scared of the limelight. So that's, what are we at, 3?
That's 3.
3. 4. Don't copy other bands or artists. Do your own thing for your own self. Like, if there's music that you like and you want to play it, just play it. You don't have to sound like, don't be that, we have to sound like so-and-so, or we have to sound like so-and-so genre. Play around with it. You know, evolve. Don't just do the same thing every time. It's funny when I see on social media bands from 20 years ago when they kind of change a sound a little bit. They do a little more acoustic, or they do a little softer, or they go and do a cover song that's not quite them. People are like, oh my God, they sold out. So, but then they get made fun of because then they're like, every single song they've ever done sounds the same. So which one is it? Do you want them to change or you don't want them to change? It's like everybody evolves, especially artists. Artists of all types usually should have to evolve at some point.
That's mainstream as well. I mean, you think of, let me think of a good example. Disturbed.
Yeah,
there's one from Chicago.
That's basically the one
Disturbed
I was talking about.
is like night and day compared to what it was forever ago.
Yeah, and that's actually the band I was trying to kind of say without saying, because all their early stuff was virtually the same for like 4 albums. The last couple have been totally different, a lot more softer, a lot more acoustic, a lot more personality into it, rather than just wow, 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 you know, stuff like that.
It's like Green Day. Green Day lost a lot of the punk feel that they had in the 90s.
But that's called evolving in the business. Because if you don't evolve, you're just going to be stuck doing the same thing, and everything's going to sound the same. So we're at 4. What would be number 5? Do it for the love. Because if you do it for the money and have high expectations, money in the arts, what? If you do it for the money and you have expectations that are too high for what you're going to do, and I put this on a Facebook post I think a week ago, the higher the expectations, the farther the fall to reality. Because when you don't hit those lofty expectations that you have, and all of a sudden you're like, oh well, this isn't what I expected, I'm done. If that's what you expected for doing something you love to do, I should have been out of this business a long time ago, because I expected myself at 45 years old to not just be working as a, you know, kind of video producer at 670 The Score, which sounds great, but it's actually not the best job. It's fun, but you know, I figured I'd be working for a newspaper or a magazine or something full time doing photography, but I'm not. I've done it in the past, but it's like it goes in spurts. That's
life for us all.
Yeah.
Well, you got through 5. I'm going to throw one extra one out there as a bit of advice. And this is something I've experienced with film festivals also, and filmmakers who will show up to an event to see their own movie show on a screen, which they've probably seen 100 times, right? They will show up, see that movie, and then leave, as opposed to watching a bulk of films around. Same thing with musicians and music festivals. I want to see these musicians show up and support all the other musicians at the same time. That'll help grow their community. I mean, it'll help everybody out.
And that shows that you're willing to, support.
Yeah.
And when others see you stay and support them, they will stay and support you.
Exactly.
And like you said, if you skip out and, I got to go, I got shit to do. Well, everybody has shit to do.
Or you hear them bitch about these other guys. Oh, they didn't stay to see our shit. Well, were you there early to see theirs?
Yeah, exactly.
Hate it. So cutthroat sometimes.
It's horrible. And I see it every show, everywhere I go.
Well, we got a lot more to talk about.
Yes, we do.
We'll be right back.
Bolt your doors, lock your windows, turn off your lights, and come with me into the Weird Darkness. I'm Darren Marlar, host of Weird Darkness, where I share stories of the paranormal, supernatural, legends, lore, mysterious, macabre, unsolved, and unexplained. Recently named one of the best storytellers in podcasting for 2019 by Podcast Business Journal. Whether it's ghosts, cryptids, true crime, or creepypastas, you'll find it all in Weird Darkness. Episodes uploaded 7 days a week. Search for Weird Darkness in your favorite podcast app, or listen now at WeirdDarkness.com.
Welcome back to the Pod of Mayhem. I am Mr. Willy, and today I'm here with Evan J. Thomas. So we've talked a little bit about some of the shows you promoted, music and art, and I know that you're also working a lot now on podcasting yourself. You want to tell us a little bit about the show, or I should say shows that you're working on and what's coming up?
Yeah, so I started a show back while I was in school at Illinois Media School called Rock Hard with Evan J. Thomas. It was on the Illinois Media School website. Well, I ended up getting it picked up by Rock 98.9 out of Jacksonville, Florida, which plays on Thursdays at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. And then also you can find it on demand at badassproductions1.com. There's a little tab there that you can listen to all the shows. And then Fridays, the show's on Oz Radio in Wichita, Kansas, 99.1. So I have all that I do. And basically that show revolves around brand new music. Old, new, well, not old, new. It can't be. If it's new music, it's new music. So what I mean by we have local bands, national bands, and then like the Slipknots and Korns.
So you have mainstream and independent.
Correct. So it's all over that. There's a little segment in there that I do called The Idiots of Genius, which is something I came up with, which is basically a stupid article about some idiot in the news. And that's a fun little thing that I do. But that's one of my shows. And I have my E2B2 podcast, which is a movie review show that I do with my 15-year-old son, Brandon. We came up with that last year after we started going to a bunch of movies, and then we started talking about it. And I'm like, hey, let's do a podcast.
So are these all mainstream films?
Yes, they are all mainstream films. The last couple we saw was like 1917, Joker. What was the one we just saw? Jojo Rabbit.
Excellent.
So those are some of the ones we saw. And then what we do is either the next morning or that night when we get home, we talk about it. And he's been awesome. I mean, he started off really slow trying to figure it out as a broadcaster, because being 15, I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah,
and you just have to get comfortable in doing that. So it's a lot of fun working with him because it's two generations, and we play off of each other, and we make fun of each other, and we actually talk about our own stories and stuff.
And
like
then amazing
too.
Bonding time too.
Exactly.
It makes you dedicate time to your son. That's excellent.
Yeah. So he and I have been bonding a lot more on that, because now it's like when he comes to see me on every other weekend, it's like, what movie are we gonna go see? What movie are we gonna? I'm like, let me know. Look it up. Let's find something fun. So we're trying to get sponsors on that. Probably we're trying to get a couple. At least one movie theater. I mean, if we can pull a movie theater sponsor, that would be amazing. I don't think we
if you can take care of your overhead, at least.
Yeah, exactly. At least cover my ticket or something. My popcorn and Skittles or whatever the hell we eat. So I have that podcast. I have the Badass podcast, which is another music show that I do, but that one also revolves around interviews with bands too. So that one, there's some of the ones I've done is Max Cavalera of Soulfly. I had Chris Jericho of Fozzy on one of the shows. Joe from Dead, the band Dead. Blacktop Mojo is one of my favorite ones I've done. LeJean from Seven Dust. So I've had some pretty big names doing my show, and it's a lot of fun doing that one.
Jericho, he has a huge podcast himself.
Yeah.
He's very good.
Yeah.
I mean, what can't that guy do?
And not only does he have the podcast, but now he has a show on Octane as well, which is a twice a month show. And it's funny because I listen to it, and it's like the same music I play. I'm like, geez. But he's Chris Jericho. He's here. And then you got me. I'm way down here on the very low rung. So you have that podcast. I have a new one that's going to be coming out called Unabashedly Evan J. Thomas. That's basically going to be personal stories of mine from me in the industry of everything that I do. And the first episode is going to be it's already been recorded, just hasn't been published yet. But it's a story about my time at the first show that Eminem ever played in Chicago, which was 1999 at the House of Blues. Wow. And how he almost threw up on me, and we had to carry him upstairs because he was drunk and high as fuck after the show. So me and a buddy of mine who was there, and it was one of those things where it was literally 3 weeks before his performance on MTV's Spring Break. So he wasn't even a name yet. Like, he had one song out that people knew, and it was Hi, My Name Is. But people knew who he was because it was a sold-out show. And the funny thing is, there's an article that I actually cut out of the newspaper the next morning where the writer bashed the hell out of him, saying he will never make it in the music industry. And I have this on my social media. And I'm like, I wonder where this writer is now, because, man, was he off. So, yeah, that's another podcast that I have, the Unabashedly Evan J. Thomas. And then thinking later this year, I'm going to have a sports one come out, too. So I haven't really... Sports
of all kinds? What do you have in mind for that?
I'm not quite sure yet.
Still up in the air?
Yeah, I have different ideas, and it's probably going to go one route, because I do run the media company. We are ND Nation, which is a Notre Dame sports media company.
Yeah.
But it's under the whole Badass Productions Planet Rage Media. So I cover Notre Dame football and basketball.
So where can people catch your podcasts?
So everything is on badassproductions1.com under On Demand. So go to the On Demand page, and then there's the list of all the podcasts that we do.
Cool.
So everything's there.
All right, and speaking to you off air, I know you had mentioned possibly doing a network also.
Correct. So kind of like what you do. You have your little streaming. Is that what you consider it?
Yeah, we have Breaking Fate Radio has a 24-hour live feed, which has right now just independent music in rotation and some royalty-free stuff.
Yeah.
It stays dedicated to independent media, as most of our products do.
And that's kind of what I'd be looking at doing with Badass Productions, is we're looking at possibly doing our own actual, station or live stream.
Yeah.
And we could use the podcast. I could throw those on anytime.
Right.
It'd be like, here's Evan J. Thomas, the Badass Podcast from November 2017 with Chris Jericho. Here you go. Boom. It's already there. And then there are a few other podcasts and radio shows that we have on our current network on Badass Productions that we could also engage as well. And then just trying to bring other people on would be a lot of fun. Having talks like this, having you on there, it'd be a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, just let me know, man.
A lot of cross-promotion going on.
I'm going to drive an hour and a half your direction next time.
Now, that's going to be a fun drive for you up to Highland Park.
Not a big deal. I drive a lot further all the time.
I was going to say, I think we both do, so we're good.
So you got some work in the past in acting as well.
I have.
What kind of stuff have you been involved in?
So I started as a background actor. Obviously, the Chicago Fires, PDs, Empire.
Yeah.
That, and then I kind of moved into doing actual lines and scenes, doing indie projects. A couple of the projects I did was Seeing Dead, which is it's like a Walking Dead type short film. It was I think it was 4-part series of that. I've worked with Lawrence Lee Wallace on a few projects. We did Villains, and then Rave. Oh my gosh, what all did I do? But I'm usually typecast as a bad guy, biker, fight scenes stuff. Oh, I was in Candy's Harem.
I was in that one too.
I was going to say you were in that also.
Yeah, I think I was nude about 5 seconds after showing up on set.
I was also nude in about 5 seconds after showing up on set, but it was a very interesting shoot. Yeah, that's right. You were in that.
Yes.
I totally forget about that.
I think I was in like one of the very first scenes of the film. I haven't watched it in a little while now.
I've only watched it once, and I won't watch it again. I'm sorry. I didn't like my scene.
There's worse. It happens. I'm not happy with everything I've done either, but
yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I like doing the acting stuff. It's just nowadays it doesn't really pay as much. I mean, you and I were saying there are a lot of people that do.
Yeah,
it seems like the ones I find don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of give and take out there. At the same time, as an actor or anything involved in the film stuff, I think I had this conversation in another podcast, was I feel like even if I don't walk away with a paycheck from any project I've ever worked on, I feel like I'm walking away with something, a new contact. There's always been some kind of major benefit that I've had, or I learned what not to do sometimes, or there's always an educational experience, and usually there's food. And I'm a fat man, I like food.
See, to me, the food doesn't matter. I want to work on fun, cool projects.
Yeah.
There is a director out there, John Wesley Norton, who I do want to work with.
He's good. I've worked with him.
Yeah, he was one of my instructors at Illinois Media School. And first time he saw me, he's like, "Why do I know you?" I'm like, "I know probably about 100 and something people you know."
He lives about 15 minutes from here.
Yeah, he's up over here, DeKalb.
Yeah, he's nearby. I think it's Maple Park, somewhere nearby there. But
he's an amazing director, and he's actually said that in the very near future I might have a little bit part in something. Yeah. I'm like, cool, as long as I either get killed or get into a fight, I want to be in it. So there.
Yeah, he's a fun director to work with. I've worked on a couple of his films. Dr. Spine was a real good experience. I did some casting work for that and was in it in a very small capacity, but still a damn good time. And that's a perfect example of, I didn't get paid on that job, but I certainly made some great contacts, and I included a lot of the same screen talent in another film that my directorial debut film.
That's cool.
A little while later.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more fun bit parts. I don't need anything big. That's not my goal. If I have a really epic death scene, that's what I want. Give me something out of the ordinary. I mean, I've had my neck torn off on one. I got choked to death in another. I got punched out by a guy who is actually what was his name? Eric. Played with Lawrence Lee Wallace. I forgot his last name. But big, muscular dude. He was in Chicago PD, Chicago Fire. But I got literally not knocked out physically, but I took a nice fake punch to the face, and those are fun, the fight scenes. And then Candy's Harem, I had a nice little fight scene in that too. So
I haven't watched that one in a little while, man.
Yeah, I got it. Like I said, I got it once, put it on. That was it. I was good. I love Anthony though, but to me is.
Yeah. Oh, Anthony's a great people, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Anthony Cooney. I'm trying to think of another film right now. The Leaf Blower Massacre.
Yeah,
that's another fun one.
He has 1 and 2, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah, and very, very indie, but very indie on purpose. And there's like a certain audience for it. You got to be into that kind of film to really enjoy it. But
totally.
If you're into that kind of film, it's good stuff to check out.
Yeah,
for sure.
I like working with Anthony. He was a lot of fun, but just the cast he had on that movie was really good.
Yeah, he had some really good cast.
He had some great people on that.
Several people have been on this podcast.
Yeah, I was
from that already.
So far.
Nita Nicole Brown, I think, and Michael Schmid, Lillian Lamore. Yeah, I think they've all been involved.
Was on it. I think she was in that movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think so.
You got to get Michelle Morris on it now too.
Yes, definitely will be working with her eventually.
I was going to say, you know her pretty well, don't you?
Yeah, that's who I was naked in that movie with.
So was I, but she wasn't naked. I was. Well, if you want to see me naked, there you go. I don't know if you really want to.
How do they talk us into these things?
I don't know. Talk about money.
So
that's what it was.
Your gut says, oh my God, no. And your mouth says, sure, no problem.
Your wallet says, yes, I'll do it. Oh, God, what is that? Okay.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to have the pod of questions.
This is paranormal historian and author Ursula Bielski, and if you love ghosts and hauntings as much as I do, then you should join me and several other knowledgeable guests at the 2020 Afterlife Paranormal Conference on Sunday, October 4th at the Red Roof Inn Convention Center in DeKalb, Illinois. This is going to be a wonderful event featuring presentations about haunted history and evidence of the paranormal. If you have a ghost hunting team or even artwork that fits the theme, the conference also has vendor space available. Be sure to check out www.afterlifeparanormal.com for tickets and details. I look forward to seeing you there. Unless you're scared.
Welcome back to the Pod of Mayhem. I am Mr. Willy Atkins, and we're here with Evan J. Thomas.
Yeah.
We don't want to forget the J.
Sorry, I had a bust out on the last one there.
Oh, that's all right. Anybody would get in trouble for dropping a J, if you know what I'm saying. So next we're going to get into the Pod of Questions.
Oh, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, for those who haven't experienced this yet, it's a newer segment in the last several shows I've done. It's usually about 10 questions that we answer, and we have you answer. And you can explain your answer if you wish. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to explain it, you don't have to. You can leave the world wondering and let them fill up your social media later about what the hell was that all about. Clowns are so much better than zombies, you know?
Ooh.
But you gotta, I think this is the part that makes every guest nervous.
Yeah,
It's
like I said, I'm not nervous at all.
Yeah, well, good, because you should be excited. These are fun.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm more excited than nervous.
Others are like, oh my God, what is he going to ask me? This could be bad. This could be very bad. But I could have asked you some bad shit all along the way.
That's true. I mean, we with our off radio conversations, we've been having some fun ones.
We're going to do the Pod of Mayhem Dark, where we cover the black or the dark web stuff.
My name is not Evan J. Thomas.
It's Thomas J. Evan.
Barry White, motherfuckers.
Are you ready, my friend?
I'm ready.
All right, number one. Mm-hmm. If you could have any animal as a tame pet, what would you choose and why?
Monkey.
A monkey.
Monkey. I absolutely love monkeys, and I would put them in people clothes and put a little top hat on them. And what do we call that? Oracle, the thing that you put over your eye.
Yeah.
Have them walk around with a cigarette and drive a little motorbike. I've actually seen that on YouTube once, and I almost cried and shit my pants. It was so funny. And I have a monkey tattoo on my hand. It's a monkey skull.
I love there was zero hesitation or thought.
Oh, that was
boom,
easy.
I know the answer to that.
You didn't even have to really look anything up. So monkey, and then my son Brandon would probably say the same thing, though he has a lizard now, so that might change.
Cool. Time to get rid
monkey.
of the lizard and find a monkey. All right, this next question has been seen on the web several times. I'm just curious what your take is, considering your experience. Mm-hmm. If you could bring back any 3 bands or musicians from the dead to perform on one of your shows, who would they be?
Well, one would be Pantera. Bring back Dimebag and Vinnie Paul to play with Phil and, was it Rex?
You're winning
Brown?
In my book already. Yeah.
All right, so Pantera would definitely be one. I would have to say Kurt Cobain for Nirvana.
There you
because that was another one I was never able to see. And then the third one, easily, Lane Staley, Alice in Chains. I mean, the other ones who have died recently, like Chester, I've seen him and photographed him. Chris Cornell, seen him, photographed him. Scott Weiland, seen him, photographed him. So all of those. But if you go way back, hard not to say the Doors, too. I mean,
yeah.
Prince, David Bowie, I mean, all those. But
you could fill a music festival, I'm sure, easily.
Exactly. But those 3 main ones were the first 3 that popped in my head.
I've seen these images, these memes on the web. It's got like several people that have passed
Michael
away.
Jackson.
It's like, pick your 3 people or
Johnny
something.
Cash. I mean, holy shit.
I was neighbors with Johnny Cash in college.
Really?
Or actually, I shouldn't say college. It would have been after. Well, one of the times I had moved to Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Wow. Yeah. Like next door neighbors or like close in the
area? Close by, same neighborhood.
You ever see him wandering around?
I did. I seen him and
Johnny Cash.
Yep. I actually, the last time I was in Nashville, just a few weeks ago, I went to drive by his house. I visited his gravesite for the first time. That was the first time I ever did that. But then I went by his house and found that it was gone. And I never realized this, but his house had burnt to the ground at some time.
Really?
And I never knew. And I mean, there was like this a moment of sadness that just took me over for a minute. I'm like, wow, that is just horrible.
That is.
The land is still there. It's marked. So people know what it was, but it's just sad to see it gone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So those were my 3 music people and bands.
Cool. Here's an important one. Number
Sure.
3. Do you prefer mental or physical abuse? Finally, some hesitation.
Oh my God. Oh, physical, I could probably take a little bit more because I'd probably fight back. But mental, man, I'd rather take physical than mental because mental abuse is just rough.
Yeah, well, some of the people in my circles might enjoy one or
shit.
the other, you know.
Then again, like I said, in every movie or show I've been in, I've had an epic fight scene or death. So, give me the physical. I'll take that anytime. Don't give me the mental stuff. That sucks. I've already had to deal with depression, Ooh,
Oh, I know all about that.
Yes, we
We're
do.
Very well documented.
that we both know.
Number 4. What is the best advice you have ever been given, and who was it from?
Oh, my God.
I can see why this one would take some thought. It's like, okay, what was the
There's
most...
so many things. I think, make sure you always have clean underwear on.
That's a pretty important
I
one.
mean, I don't know if it's just something I've seen. I don't actually... I get advice all the time, and I do take people's, take of what they
Criticisms,
say.
yeah.
I'm probably the easiest person to criticize, and I could take it because I don't care.
Yeah.
And I will work on what I need to work on. So that would probably be the one. Make sure you wear clean underwear, just in case.
And who told
Or
you
at least
that?
have them. I don't know. My mom easily told me that, especially when I was a kid. But I actually nowadays it's kind of funny. I always have an extra pair of underwear in my gym bag just in case. You never know. If you're not feeling good, you got a little tummy issue. Yeah, you might want to.
Crohn's disease. I know all about it.
That's right too.
Motherfucker. Oh,
We're going to shit
it's
stories
what I call
now.
a cunt-wrenching nightmare. Number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the films you and your son have reviewed on your podcast, which is your favorite?
God.
And I should say, which is your favorite podcast you've done with him?
Ooh, the Joker.
The Joker?
Yeah, because we did that one actually in the car after seeing the movie.
Wow,
So
didn't
it was-
wait at all, did you?
No, because that was a day where we just went. I picked him up just to go see the movie,
Yeah.
and we went and saw it. And I'm like, we're recording this now, so we were fresh in the mind, no thinking about it. We just went off on it. It was so good.
Yeah, I won't ask many details. I'll make everybody go listen to the
Yeah.
podcast to find
Yeah,
out.
there you go. E2B2 Podcasts on Facebook. You can look it up. Also, badassproductions1.com. You go to the on-demand tab, E2B2 Podcast, and just find the one that has the logo of the Joker.
See, that says you're a promoter right there.
Yeah, I know where everything is.
Shameless. Shameless.
Oh, I don't.
And I was setting you up for the
everything.
kick too, man, because I know very well. You have me on your show, I'll walk all over it too. Believe me. You leave that little crack in the door for promotion, and I'll bust through it like Kool-Aid.
I think I need to
Man.
pull you on the unabashedly Evan J. Thomas show.
Whichever one you like.
Yeah, I think we should.
Let's do that. All right, number 6.
Mhm.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, another good one.
Why, thank you. It
I have many.
took me like 3 seconds to
I
do these.
have many pet peeves. Oh, people who complain about the weather on social media. And anybody who knows me knows that's a fucking fact. Because to me, you cannot change the weather. So fucking deal with it. Put a coat in your car. Put a hat on. Put gloves on if it's cold.
Wolf
Yes,
McKinney was talking about the weather. He not
Oh,
talking
he
about
did
the weather.
say that.
He
did.
bitches about people who will just try to make random conversation
Yes,
about the weather and
he
shit.
just
It's like,
cuts
shut the
it-
fuck
he
up.
cuts
Nobody
it
gives
out,
a
yeah.
shit. Man, nobody
Oh,
cares
yeah.
about the fucking whatever.
Yeah, anybody who posts just, it's too cold for me. Shut the you don't go outside anyway.
I bitch about it myself. Guilty of it because I fucking hate it with a passion.
See,
and I left here and I got
deal
stuck
with
back
it.
here.
I deal with it. It's like, just deal with it. Look ahead. Don't wear open-toed shoes when it's 20 below.
Number 7.
Less.
What would you consider the most scary thing to ever happen to you in your life?
Probably the one that scared me the most was I was driving a car down Route 83 in Elk Grove Village, and there was a car. I was going through a green light. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, this car went zipping right by me and just missed hitting my car. It had to have been easily going 45 miles an hour.
Jeez.
And I had a fucking panic attack after it happened, and I've never cried so hard so long.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those things where life just went right past you, and you're like, 2 more seconds, I was gone.
I had a very similar experience. I was driving in some back roads that are gravel outside of Maple Park, Illinois.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there. There's no stop signs, intersections, nothing. And it was later in the evening, and the cornfield was high, which is another scary-ass part of it. But I was driving maybe 35 miles an hour and came up to this intersection. I just barely caught a glimpse of light and hit the brakes, and another Jeep Cherokee went right in front of me. I swear it missed the front bumper by 6 inches tops.
Wow.
And I'll never forget it.
Yeah. It's one of those where it's ingrained in your head. I think I was 23 years old, so that was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that happened and it's still so vivid when
You're that
brought
close
that
to
up,
death.
I'm like, oh, yeah, it's kind of...
It's a reminder it could be at any time.
Oh, my God. It was crazy.
Number 8.
Number 8.
What was your favorite cartoon character, or favorite cartoon as a child?
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
I love Scooby-Doo, and Flintstones was the other one. And Tom and Jerry. I liked all those 3.
God, if
But
we could only
Scooby-Doo-
drop rocks on people now. Now we just have them being very vulgar. And
Scooby-Doo was probably my most entertaining one, just because I love doing the braggy.
that's pretty impressive.
I could,
Especially through this PA system. It
Yeah.
sounded really good.
I don't even know how good that sounded. I think that was even worse. But
Well, the world will find out when you listen back to
they'll
this.
make fun of me and be like, "Please don't do that again." Fucking idiot.
Number 9.
Yes.
What was your very first concert?
Billy Joel, 1991, Allstate Arena. At the time, Rosemont Horizon.
Right. Billy Joel.
And it was an awesome show, and I went there because I was there with my aunt and uncle, my mom and dad. So I was 16, I think, 17, 16. And I was there because the one album that he had out at the time had We Didn't Start the Fire on it. And that was my favorite song at the time. And when he played it, he missed the chorus once, had to stop, and was like, oh, shit, I messed up the lyrics. And then he started again. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's a fuck up, but it's
another
amazing.
one of those that's ingrained in your mind. And that was, again, 30 years ago. So, yeah.
All right, finally, number 10.
Man, I want more.
I know, they're fun, aren't they?
Yeah, let's do this.
I could fill a whole show with these, but I'd probably run out of ideas
Careful
eventually.
when you say want to fill a hole.
Yeah. That's got me rewarded and punished many, many times.
Yeah.
Number 10.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to go on a zombie killing adventure, what 3 songs would have to be on your soundtrack?
Killing in the Name, Rage Against the Machine, easily. Oh, actually, after that, I don't know.
That one came so easily.
Yeah, well, because it's like one of my favorite songs.
Gonna put that on repeat?
Yeah, I probably could. Probably Pantera, Cowboys from Hell.
Good.
Appetite for Destruction.
There you go.
Or Welcome to the Jungle would probably be right there.
It'd be a nice opening segment before the true destruction begins. Yeah.
A little build up to it, and then hit them with Killing.
I mean, you nailed these pretty well, I gotta say.
Oh, those were fun. See, like I said, now I want more. You got 10? Make this 15.
I'll work on that. The last one I did was with Anita Nicole Brown, and I had to chop it down to 5 because there's so much other stuff she had to talk about.
Oh, really? Well, I could too, but, you want people to continue listening after me.
I hear you there.
Be like, who's this guy? Fuck, he's boring.
So we got to talk a lot about your shows and podcasts and the radio stuff coming up. We didn't get to talk too much about the photography and the type of work that you do there, and that's obviously where it all started. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the style of work you've done and some of your standout shoots?
So where I started was, and I think I mentioned this early on, my dad being a photographer.
Right.
I was just photographing dumb shit here and there. Well, late 90s, I had a buddy that was in a band, and that's kind of where my professional stuff started because I photographed them and they paid me. So that was the first time I ever got paid, and we did some promo shots, and we did some, they were practicing, did some cool artsy stuff in the basement, and then I would do live shows. So I did a bunch of those, and then it was funny because in 1998, again, I'm dating myself, I was at a Deftones show at the Riviera Theater, where outside of the theater, I met this guy selling bootleg VHS tapes. And I was like, oh, he had a Deftones one, so I bought it off him. I told him, oh, I'm a music photographer, and I had these really cheap ass.
The children of today will never know what that's like.
Yeah, VHS tapes. Yeah, go to YouTube. That's what they call those now, and it's just videos. So yeah, we used to get those for like $10 or whatever it was. I mean, $10 now sounds like a lot. But I had this really cheap ass business card that had a little camera on it. It said Evan J. Thomas, photographer. And this guy's like, oh, you're a music photographer. He's like, I got a show over there I want you to go to. So the first show he ever brought me to was at Metro? And it was this band, Lungbrush, out of Chicago. They're now defunct because the lead singer passed away a few years back. The very opening band was a band that now we know as Disturbed.
Yeah.
The first ever show, and I have pictures on my Facebook page. If you go to Evan J. Thomas on Facebook and you go to my photos and you go to the music section, you can see pictures of David Draymond with hair wearing his yellow jumpsuit with all the other band's equipment right behind him because they were the first band that was on. So it's kind of funny that I say the first band I ever photographed at an actual venue was Disturbed. And I just saw them last year at Allstate Arena in front of 20,000 people.
Yeah.
So you go from the Metro playing in front of, 700 maybe? What does the Metro hold?
It's got to be something like
600.
I think they have a capacity like 850 or something.
So it was even less than that because it was a local show. But yeah, so that's where the music stuff started. So I started from there. Then I got hooked up with a couple different online websites later on. I also started doing sports photography around the exact same time. I ended up getting a little paid gig with the Schaumburg Flyers, doing like their promo stuff, and I did their baseball cards a couple years in a row. And then I started doing like Cubs games, did a couple of those. I started working for the Chicago Bandits women's softball team. I was a team photographer for them. And then the last few years, I've been really engaged in doing my Notre Dame stuff. So that's where I'm really at now with my sports photography, is photographing Notre Dame college football. I mean, I've been all over the place the last couple of years just covering football. It's awesome. I've been at the Big House in Michigan. I went to New York, Yankee Stadium. I was in Dallas at AT&T Stadium, Jerry World, for the playoff game in 2018, December of 2018. I mean, it's been a blast. I mean, yeah, I have to pay my own way most of the time. This is my own company, but I did a GoFundMe, and I actually got some money out of it that ended up paying me pretty good. So it was a lot of fun. But man, photography nowadays, it's so cutthroat.
Oh,
and
everybody's a photographer.
Exactly, and that's all you had to say. And it's funny because there's this thing that I've said over the past few years. Just because I own a set of knives does not make me a chef.
Right.
If you have a camera, that does not make you a photographer. That makes you somebody who takes pictures. There is a big difference between knowing, how to actually frame a picture, catch action, pose somebody, and just know content and creativity over the fact that I have a cell phone. I could take one picture. Hey, now I'm going to put it on Instagram. Now I'm going to put filters on it. Our filters back in the day was Photoshop. If you even had Photoshop.
There was a time we didn't have that.
Before that, it was all just, in studio work where you had to do darkroom.
Yeah.
And, for those baby boomers who remember that shit, like my dad had.
Yeah.
He had the fun little darkroom.
It was the best way to learn, though.
It sure was, and that's how I learned. I learned it in high school, and then I did 1 year at college at Harper in 1997, where we did intro to photography, which I really didn't need it, but I did. And it was one of those where it was still film.
I was doing photography for a long time and then went back and took classes for it way after the fact, just to add some, notoriety, I guess, in some ways. And I can't say it really did a whole lot to help sell my work, but at the same time, just doing so, you always pick up new things. It's like I mentioned before, anything I've worked on, whether I'm paid or not, I seem like I gather something from somebody there.
Yeah, and building from the photography, I mean, I love the fact that I do video now, too, to be able to create. I mean, I just finished a vlog with a band that I'm working with, Bullet to the Heart. We did a 5-episode vlog of their 2-week or 3-week tour in the end of 2019. I mean, it's rough trying to edit when you don't have a lot of time to edit. We just got it done literally 3 days ago, I think, is when we finished it. and it just got put out, I think, today. So
Nice.
it's one of those fun little projects that 3 weeks of video clips trying to put everything together in a timeline and actually make it interesting is always fun, especially when it's like tough little clips that you have of people running around flipping you off and shit like that.
That's the best footage.
Yeah, it's fun because you just throw music on that, and that's usually pretty easy.
Well, it's been pretty cool talking today.
My God.
It's so much we have in common. It's like the same but different. You know,
Yeah.
most of my photography work is in model portfolio production.
And I used to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot. And I kind of just got away from it because, I don't know, I can't say women are boring because they're not. It's just there was no money in doing it for me.
Yeah.
And I kind of lost the creative juices of doing the model photography.
I found that more and more models intend to get paid.
Well, that's the other thing, speaking of being paid, is just because you have a bikini on does not mean you're a model either.
right.
You know, you have to know how to pose and facial expressions and
I've always pitched
know
it.
what works.
I've always pitched it like this. Model Mayhem gives me this stuff all the time. All models reach out to want to do a shoot, but then they want me to pay them. They reach out to me and want me to pay them. But I've always said, explain to me what this business model looks like, because I just spent a lot of money on all this equipment, right? And you're coming out to pose, and we're doing whatever you want to do. And how am I benefiting from this exactly?
Well, you get my pictures.
Yeah,
it doesn't do nothing.
that's the guy with camera type thing.
Yeah, go to Creeper Joe over there and have him do it for you.
Yep, that's basically what they're trying to sell. And
that's exactly it.
you know what? If I have a commercial advertiser who's going to pay me to book a model, that's the real business model. I mean, whenever there's some advertisement or some company or a magazine that's paying me to bring in a model to photograph for them, that's the real business model.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be so forgotten these days, or at least all the models you see are just basically trying to look for guys with camera, the way I see it.
Yeah,
Or they want to get paid to be
Instagram.
photographed by a real photographer, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Do some TFPs, then you build a portfolio, and then you can hopefully get, more commercial work, which is
But
what
I
really
have
pays.
35,000 followers on Instagram. Okay, I don't give a fuck. I can show my butt too. That doesn't mean anything. Don't even get me started on Instagram models.
All right, Evan, tell us about your websites and where we can find you. I know there's a bunch.
So the websites, badassproductions1.com is all the music media stuff that I do. evanjthomas.com is my basically personal stuff. So those are the two main websites you can find. On Badass Productions 1, you can find all the on-demand stuff. So you can do all the podcasts, the TV shows that I do. A lot of my music photography is on there under the store. So if you ever want to purchase some stuff, there's a whole bunch of bands on the store that you can go through. Everybody I've ever photographed. Rush, just lost Neil Peart, recently. They're on there. So those are the main websites. Now, if you want to talk social media, ready for this?
Let's go for it.
All right. So you have Rock Hard with Evan J. Thomas on Facebook, Badass Productions, Planet Rage Media, We Are ND Nation, the Badass Art and Music Show. You have Rock 98.9, which is where my radio show is. You have Idiots of Genius. You have Evan J. Thomas Photography. You have the Badass Podcast with Evan J. Thomas, the E2B2 Podcast, Underground Sessions, and that looks like it.
We also have a Patreon for you, right?
Yes, there is a Patreon on the Badass Productions 1 page. You can go on there, and there is a bunch of different levels. And actually, this episode isn't going to be produced or put out for another, 2 weeks?
It'll be like 3 weeks. Yep.
Actually, it still might be available then, but we are going to be giving away tickets to Rage Against the Machine in St. Louis.
Wow.
On May 16th, only because I bought tickets for Foo Fighters in Detroit on May 16th as well.
Wow.
And I can't go to both shows on the same day, so one of them I have to sell. So we're going to be giving away, if you join the Patreon, and we're not sure exactly which level it's going to be yet, once you join, to be able to possibly win those tickets.
That'll be patreon.com/badassproductions1.
Yes.
Well, Evan,
Willie.
it's amazing we haven't worked on anything more than being nude in the same movie.
And we weren't even on set together, thank God.
Thank God.
Me seeing you naked and you'd see me naked, probably not a good thing.
We'd have a whole new thing to talk about.
Yeah,
Or
we'd
things.
be rubbing bald heads or something. Whoa.
Hey, I'm not going bald. I'm getting more head. Remember that. Feel free to use it. I use it all the time.
You're not going bald. You're getting more head.
We're going to have to work on something together, man. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, well, we're working on this. And now let's see. You're going to do my podcast, hopefully.
Absolutely.
And then if you ever need a bad guy in a film, you know where to go.
Right? I'm going to cast a film with nothing but bald people. Would be excellent.
Oh, that would be awesome.
In a world where a man from the past meets a man from the future. Wow.
They kind of look the same. And then what do?
They save yesterday's children from tomorrow's disaster.
What?
It's been a pleasure, man.
Dude, Willie, thank
Take
you
care.
very much.
All right, it's that time. I want to thank you all for listening in. Another huge thanks to Evan J. Thomas for being my guest in the Pod of Mayhem this week. In addition to shining light on creative people by way of my podcast, I also run a company called Breaking Fate Entertainment, with my mission being to produce, promote, and distribute the independent arts with film festivals, art exhibits, conventions, film production, book publishing, and so much more. These days, it's pretty rough go for all us event producers and freelancers, so if you could take a moment to check out my brand new Patreon page at www.patreon.com/breakingfate. There you can be a mega fan supporter of all that I do. It's a brand new page that I just created recently, and I've added many awesome perks for my supporters. To keep in the loop with what I'm personally doing and access all my social media, simply visit willyatkins.com. Season 2 will be coming your way very soon. In the meantime, again, please go to the new Facebook page for Creative Backstory at www.facebook.com/Creative Backstory. Till next time, I'm Willy Atkins. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great!
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!